Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger declared their intention to leave the West African Regional Organization known as Ecowas in January 2024. It was a landmark ruling that rocked the regional grouping to its core. Since then, Ecowas has employed every tactic imaginable, including diplomatic and threat tactics, to entice Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali to enter the Union. All of these attempts, nevertheless, have been in vain because the three nations have not changed their minds. Finally understanding the message, Ecowas has chosen to cooperate with the new bloc formed by Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. What caused the change of heart though? What impact does this have on West African regional stability? Let's investigate. After Ecowas threatened to intervene militarily in Niger, ties between the three military chiefs and the regional bloc deteriorated after the coup. The declaration by Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso in January 2024 marked the culmination of months of friction between the two sides. The decision to leave the bloc was made in full sovereignty, according to the joint statement issued by the three nations, and was motivated by the bloc's departure from Pan-Africanism and the principles of its founding fathers after almost 50 years of existence. The statement went on to say that ECOWAS has betrayed its fundamental values and become a threat to its member states and their citizens, whose happiness it is meant to guarantee, due to the influence of foreign forces. Furthermore, ECOWAS was blamed in the communiqué for not helping the three nations combat existential challenges like terrorism. In other words, ECOWAS as a regional group has never supplied assistance to these three countries, who have been struggling with terrorism and insecurity. However, after the coup, the bloc was the first to impose strict sanctions on these nations. Following this declaration, the regional bloc has used several tactics to reintegrate Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, and has refused to recognize their departure. The reason for this is that ECOWAS recognizes the significance of Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali to the bloc. Omar Touré, the president of ECOWAS, stated at the 92nd Ordinary Session of the Councils of Ministers, which was held in July in Abuja, Nigeria, that ECOWAS faces dissolution unless Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali rejoin the group. He went on to say that the three nations' action might make regional insecurity worse. The president went on to emphasize that the primary advantages of the almost 50-year-old bloc, including freedom of movement and a 400 million person common market, would be jeopardized if the three nations departed. President Omar threatened Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso as he concluded his remarks during this summit, in an effort to persuade them to rejoin the bloc. He warned that unless Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger rejoined the group, funding for economic projects totaling more than $500 million could potentially be halted or suspended. This, however, was insufficient to convince the three Sahelian nations to rejoin the bloc. The creation of the Alliance of the Sahel, a new regional organization, further solidified their dedication to their choice. The regional union, which was already searching for methods to persuade the three nations to return, suffered yet another setback. Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso would not be able to turn back once the AES Confederation was established. ECOWAS appears to have finally heeded the advice and chosen to cooperate with the AES Confederation. The idea that ECOWAS should collaborate with the AES was first proposed by Diomaye Faye, one of the mediators dispatched by ECOWAS to help the AES members return to the bloc. This is unexpected considering that President Faye was once certain that Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali should rejoin the bloc. To portray himself as a regional leader, he really made a campaign pledge to reinstate Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger in ECOWAS. This is what led him to visit Ghanaian President Akufo-Addo and Nigerian President Bola Tinubu, where he reaffirmed his resolve to reunifying the three Sahelian countries. After congratulating him on winning the election, the Nigerian president met with Diomaye Faye, urging him to restore Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali to the regional bloc and calling him a shining example of democratic values. As he puts it, "In my capacity as ECOWAS chairman, I'm extending an invitation to work together and get to know those other brothers in order to convince them to rejoin. We'll keep working together. Our roots are similar, and we will keep supporting and embracing democratic rule. In terms of economic growth, development, and other areas of governance, we must be able to collaborate and create the freedom we value. It is up to us to reassure our citizens and act on our words." Additionally, President Tinubu stated that human trafficking must be stopped. "We have to eradicate poverty, banditry, and terrorism from our society. That needs to be our devotion and attention." Faye responded by saying that member-state relations may be improved for the community's progress under President Tinubu's guidance and experience. "We can talk to our brethren and persuade them to rejoin the group," he continued, "to return and uphold our shared democratic ideals and what we stand for." After meeting with President Tinubu, Faye traveled to Ghana, where he met with President Akufo to also discuss similar issues. Speaking to reporters after bilateral talks, Akufo-Addo said Faye had demonstrated commitment to ECOWAS efforts to bring the three countries to the table for further talks and back to the bloc. "We are lucky to have a new leader in place, because I think he is also going to help us to try and resolve the big problem that we have in the ECOWAS community," he stated. Faye stated that he is up for the challenge of assisting in the reconciliation of ECOWAS with Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. "Even if ECOWAS is going through a tough moment," he declared, "we will do everything in our power to strengthen the integration's progress in a spirit of fraternal solidarity." Add your voice to the total liberation of Africa by leaving a comment in the comments section below. Do not forget to like and subscribe for more informative videos like this one. Let's proceed. After meeting with the presidents of Nigeria and Ghana, Faye traveled to Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso in an attempt to persuade them to rejoin the bloc, but he was unsuccessful. Faye denied that he was an ECOWAS mediator during his visit, saying, "I will always rectify and say that I am not a mediator for ECOWAS, not at all. I am not mandated by any ECOWAS body. I have never served in any ECOWAS meeting." What's even more intriguing is that President Faye stressed that the main goal of his visit was to strengthen bilateral relations between Senegal and the three nations, not to act as a mediator. At the time, it was difficult to understand why he changed his statement. Since then, Faye has remained silent on the issue of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso's return to the bloc. However, a few days ago, at the Doha Forum 2024, which was held in the capital of Qatar, President Faye told all presidents that it is critical for regional stability that ECOWAS continue to work with the Alliance of Sahel states in order to foster dialogue, bring together policymakers to discuss the world's major geopolitical challenges, and develop innovative and action-oriented frameworks. The 2023 edition of the Doha Forum was held on December 7th and 8th, with the theme The Innovation Imperative. Addressing migration, President Faye also noted that the Alliance of Sahel states is currently dealing with a terrorist threat, and that it is crucial to keep strong ties among its members. He said that terrorism can occur anywhere, and that the successes we have made with ECOWAS through various mechanisms should not be minimized in comparison to the challenges of governance, which require reform. The Confederation of Sahel States, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger are facing challenges. But President Faye is not the only ECOWAS member to emphasize the need for the bloc to work with the AES Confederation. A few days after Faye's remarks, President Bola Tinubu, the president of Nigeria, announced that diplomacy will guide ECOWAS in its reintegration efforts with AES countries. Tinubu stressed that ECOWAS leaders are committed to the welfare of citizens in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger while maintaining a firm stance against unconstitutional governments. He said, "We will continue to lead by example. We have innocent citizens who are victims of the military. We will continue to explore diplomatic channels to navigate without punishing these innocent people. This is a far cry from what happened when the coups recently occurred in these countries. As you may remember, President Tinubu was very vocal against the military government and threatened military intervention in the case of Niger. When it became clear that there was a chance that military intervention would spark a regional war, Tinubu resorted to imposing strict sanctions on the three countries, closing borders, stopping trade with Niger, and stopping the supply of electricity to Niger, which had a number of disastrous consequences in Niger. Speaking to the German president, Tinubu expressed disappointment over the three countries' leadership's hesitancy to propose clear transition plans, but emphasized the bloc's openness to democratic reforms. Our relationship of mutual respect will continue as we reappraise the situation in the three countries. What I can assure is that we will not give tolerance to unconstitutional governments, he said, citing the deaths of hundreds of people who were unable to receive adequate medical care from hospitals, which was one of the main reasons Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso decided to leave the regional bloc. President Tinubu went on to reiterate ECOWAS's dedication to permitting unrestricted travel and commerce, while making sure the welfare of impacted individuals always comes first. ECOWAS will continue its diplomatic efforts to restore democracy in the affected countries, he assured the German leader. We'll keep the possibility of cooperation open. ECOWAS will stand for this, he declared. In response, German President Steinmeier acknowledged the economic and security implications of reintegrating Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, expressed support for ECOWAS's diplomatic approach, and emphasized the need for emergency plans to ensure future regional economic cooperation. President Tinubu's statement allayed the fears of those who have expressed that Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso might lose access to free trade and movement across the West African region, regardless of the political situation in these countries and their withdrawal from the bloc. Steinmeier stated, "We understand why ECOWAS security members are insisting on diplomacy. There are serious security and economic consequences for not carrying on together. What is the rationale behind ECOWAS' decision to collaborate with the AES? The reason for this is that it has no other choice. Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali have stated unequivocally that they will not reverse their decision." At the inaugural AES summit, the Prime Minister of Mali acknowledged this by stating that the three governments' statement announcing their departure from ECOWAS needed to be given more weight. Similar remarks were also expressed by Ali Mohamed Lamine Zain, the Prime Minister of Niger, at the African Development Bank's annual meeting of the Board of Governors. "I want to ask ECOWAS to join the AES, but I can't be too provocative," he remarked. Some ECOWAS nations are likely interested in joining the AES because the AES contains the continent's culture of sovereignty and dignity. Therefore, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso will formally leave the regional grouping by January 2025. A new agreement on how the two blocs may cohabit will also need to be created, as the bloc is willing to cooperate with the AES. Undoubtedly, stability in West Africa will be ensured if ECOWAS and AES can cooperate. The reality is that Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali are battling an insecurity crisis that is being fueled by international forces and funded by foreign sources. The situation would not have gotten as terrible as it is now if ECOWAS had cooperated with these nations at the start of the crisis. But Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso were left to handle the problem on their own, so they turned to international powers like France for help. This did nothing to improve the circumstances. According to sources, the situation was actually made worse by France's involvement. This has prompted many to speculate that France may be solely to blame for the region's insecurity. The decision to expel French forces and sever diplomatic ties with Western nations was decided by the AES itself for this reason. In order to fight the insecurity, they had instead looked to non-Western nations like Russia. The AES Confederation was created in September of last year with the goals of advancing socio-economic development for the populace and fortifying cooperative security measures. Joining forces with Russia was one aspect of this cooperative approach. Fousseyni Ouattara, the vice president of the Transitional Council of Mali's Defense and Security Commission, recently stated in an interview that collaboration with Russia has allowed the militaries of Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali to becoming stronger in 2024 to combat terrorism more effectively. He went on to say that this year's military cooperation with Russia had extremely noticeable outcomes. We applaud the collaboration with Russia for 2024, which has resulted in the bolstering of the military of our three nations, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. Now, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are united in their fight against terrorism. According to the Vice President, the General Staff participated in joint exercises with Togo and Chad, which greatly improved their coordination. He also noted cooperation in the acquisition of highly effective aerial vectors and the sharing of satellite information, which has also enhanced the monitoring of terrorist movements. Furthermore, Ouattara emphasized that the withdrawal from Ecowas, which had planned an aggression against Niger, was a major event of the year for the AES countries, along with the creation of the Confederation of Sahel states. He also said that next year will be an opportunity to consider other joint projects for the three countries in various areas, such as the future issuance of a common currency for AES, the interconnection of electrical grids, the establishment of an airline to facilitate connections between the three states, and the construction of roads and railways. Therefore, it is evident that the AES Confederation has its plans in place, and the three nations are committed to forming a bloc that will ensure peace and progress. The fact is that working with the AES would be beneficial to the regional bloc, Ecowas. For Ecowas, working with the AES offers an opportunity to adapt and evolve in the face of new challenges. If the two blocs can find common ground, they have the potential to build a stronger, more united West Africa. What are your thoughts on this evolving geopolitical landscape? Tell us what you think in the comments section below. We explore the rich history, culture, and the ongoing struggle for sovereignty in Africa. Join us in this important conversation by subscribing to our channel. By subscribing, you're not just staying informed, you're becoming part of a movement dedicated to reclaiming Africa's rightful place on the global stage. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Let's work together to spread knowledge and inspire change. Thanks for watching.